19mm socket. Let's go ahead and remove the lug nuts. Go ahead and grab the wheel, remove it, and set it aside. We're going to go ahead and use a 14mm ratchet wrench to remove this caliper slide pin bolt and the one up above. Let's go ahead and start with the bottom one. Once that's loose, go ahead and remove it and set it aside. Repeat for the top. Using a small pry bar or pry tool, go ahead, loosen and remove our brake caliper here. We're going to use our caliper hanging tool and kind of put this through somewhere and support this up out of the way. Let's go ahead and remove our brake pads. Taking note, the inboard squeak tab, the wear tab is on the inboard on the upper section. Now I'm going to go ahead and disconnect this ABS sensor right here. Just going to lift up on the tab and gently work this connector off. And set that aside. The bottom bolt here is a 15mm. We're going to go ahead and get that on our lower caliper bolt here. Go ahead, loosen and remove this bolt. Once this one is out, we're going to repeat for the upper. Now you hold on to your brake caliper bracket. Once this bolt is completely free, the bracket itself will be free, and so will the brake rotor. Hold on to both of those while you remove this bolt. Remove your caliper bracket, and then remove your brake rotor. Now we're going to come over to our caliper, and we want to go ahead and use our disc brake tool, and we're going to spin our piston back in to the caliper. I'm going to do this slowly. Then we're going to spin this back in clockwise until that piston is flush. Okay. What we want to do is make sure that our points here, our notches in the piston, are at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, or depending at where your position here, or 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock, because our brake pads will have little buttons on the back that actually fit into those there. If those are not lined up, the pad will not seat flush, and you'll definitely end up with an installation issue. Let's go ahead and clean our brake caliper slide here. Use a pick or a pry tool to pop off our shims here. Next, we want to take our boots. These are stuck, so it might take a little bit of work to get these out. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a pair of pliers here. I'm going to work this, and we're trying to pull this out of this here. We don't want to damage these rubber boots, so be very careful when operating with these pliers. You don't want to pinch that boot. You can always use your pick and pop that off there. If you have to, you can use some spray lube or rust penetrant. We'll let some of that set in there, and we'll go to the other side. This one here is a lot more free. So we're going to go ahead and pop the boot off and slide that out. That's how easy that should come out. Then we can go ahead and pop the rubber boot off. Now we're able to spin this back and forth, but it's still stuck going in and out. We're just going to go ahead and line this up. We're just going to give this a few taps on the top here just to try and break that free. Looks like it is moving. It is now moving in and out. Grab your pliers. There we go. And that's what we want. Go ahead and remove the boot. Let's go ahead and clean our sliders here. Just going to use a basic solvent. Clean off the sliders. Do an inspection. Look for any rust, any scoring, any damage to these here. That one looks good. Do the same for this one here. You can see that this one is physically different from the other one, so you want to make sure that that goes in the same slide hole in the caliper bracket as it came out of. Once those are clean, you can go ahead and set those aside. Now I want to go ahead and use what we call a bore brush to clean the inside of where the slider pins go. Do the same for the other one. And go ahead and clean those out. I'm going to run our bore brush through there one more time. Now we're going to flip this over. We're going to use our bristle brush here to go ahead and clean where the slide brackets are going to go, or our shims. do a careful inspection. You don't want any chunky rust, flakes, or anything like that on there. This is cleaning up really nice. Go ahead, flip this over, repeat for the other side. I'm going to go ahead and apply a light coat of grease to the caliper bracket itself. Go ahead and take your slide here, line this up. I'm going to press this down. I'm going to apply a thin coat of grease here to the slider. Take our boot and line this up. Actually, it goes on that way there. I'm going to go ahead and work that in. Pop our boot on, there we go. We have mobility and in and out motion. Go ahead and repeat the same for this side here. Go. Now we did go ahead and spray the hub with some anti-seize compound. Let's go ahead and install our brake rotor here. Let's go ahead and install our caliper bracket. I'm going to line this up. And I'm going to place the upper bolt So just going to get the upper bolt started by hand. Once that's threaded in a little bit, we're going to go ahead and get the lower bolt installed. All right, now what we're going to do is go ahead and snug those bolts down. Okay, go ahead and get our inboard pad lined up. Get our outboard pad installed. I'm going to go ahead and remove our hanger from the caliper itself. I'm going to go ahead and line up. What we're going to do is push in on these slider pins right here, work the bracket on, and get our lower bolt lined up. Get the bolt started. Then we'll go to the upper one, get the upper bolt installed here. I'm going to go ahead and snug these bolts down. Now I'm going to go ahead and torque the caliper bracket bolts to 94 foot-pounds. And do the same for the upper. Go ahead and take your ABS wire, line that up, put that into the back of the sensor. And press it on, you should be able to hear that click into place. Go ahead and torque these slider bolts, slider pins down to 25 foot-pounds. Repeat for the top. And go ahead and install the wheel. And get all the lug nuts started by hand, and then we'll go ahead and snug those down. I'm going to go ahead and torque down the wheel to 103 foot-pounds.